Okay, I'm going to show you how to write equations of lines. This is section 5.4, and we're going to write equations of lines in slope-intercept form, of course, and we're going to do two different types of problems. The first type of problem is when you're given a point and a slope. So keep something in mind whenever you're trying to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. You always need two things. I mean, if you want to write it in slope-intercept form, you always need the slope and you always need the y-intercept. So we need these two. If they give us the slope, we already know one of the things then. We already know the slope. So really the only thing we need to write an equation of this line is we need to figure out the b. We need to figure out where this thing crosses the y-axis. So for every one of these problems, when you're given a point and a slope, is you'll just start off with y equals mx plus b, and you'll plug in the point that they give you. So if they give you a point, that's like giving you an x and a y. So you'll take the y, which is 2, and you'll plug that in. So we'll put a 2 in there for the y. The m, remember, is the slope, so it's right here. So we just put a 3 in for the m. The x is right here. It's -4. And then we don't know what the b is. That's why we're plugging in these numbers. We're trying to figure out the b. So we're just needing to solve for b. So we have 2. We multiply these two together. So that would be -12 plus the b. And then to get the b by itself, we would have to add 12. So we'll go ahead and add 12 to both sides. Plus 12 plus 12. So b will equal 14. Okay, so now we know the b. We already knew the slope. So those are the two things you need. Remember to write it in slope-intercept form. So we would write y equals, the slope is 3. So we'd say 3x. And then the b is 14. So that means we just say plus 14. That's your answer. We wrote an equation of a line. All right. Now, same thing again. We got a point and a slope, so we started off the same. We start with y equals mx plus b. You plug in the point. So this is my little x and my little y. So I put a -1 in for the y. For the m, I put 1/4, because that's given. It's right there. The x is -2, so I put -2. Now I probably will put -2 over 1 because this is a 1/4, so it'll be a little bit easier to multiply together. And then I'm going to solve for b. Now if I multiply these two together, then that's going to be -2/4. You know how you multiply straight across with fractions? So that's going to be -2/4 plus b equals -1. And then I need to solve for b, so I'm going to add. That's actually -1/2. Right? 2/4 is -1/2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2/4. So we're going to add 2/4, or we could say adding a half, same thing. So on the right side, all we'll have is b, because that'll cancel out. So -1, this is really -1 plus a half. So we could try to get a common denominator, or maybe you can just see that that's going to give you -1/2. Okay, if not, then say this would be -2 over 2 plus 1 over 2, and so now they have a common denominator, so this would be -1 over 2. All right, so that's our b, -1/2. We already knew the slope, so now we can write the equation. So the equation is y equals the slope, which is 1/4 x, and then the b, which is a -1/2. If you want to say plus a -1/2, you can, but it's awkward. So just say -1/2. All right. Now, slightly harder problems, not much. Slightly harder is when they just give you 2 points. Okay, so now we're just going to give you a couple of points. And these are the 3 steps, I would say, just kind of in my own words. First, you find the slope. Then you pretty much are doing what we did for the first 2 examples. You are doing the same thing. So you find the slope first, then you plug the slope and one of the points in to find the b, and then you go ahead and just write your equation with the m and the b back in there. All right. So let me show you. you got 2 points, and you're supposed to write the equation of the line. I would say maybe 2 questions out of 50 on the final exam are this, at least. So it's kind of a big deal. First thing is you need to find the slope. So this is section 5.1, finding the slope between 2 points. So we say m equals, subtract your y's, so negative 10 minus 6, and then 7 minus 1. So negative 10 minus 6, that would be negative 16 over, let's see, that'd be 6, right? Let's kind of reduce that. So let's say maybe that would be totally reduced. That would be minus 8/3. Okay, so we got our slope. Now we need to find the b. So that was step 1. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our y equals mx plus b, and we're going to choose one of the points. So it's kind of amazing. You can choose either point. It works. So you choose a point, whichever one you want. Usually pick the one that doesn't have negatives and smaller numbers. So choose a point. I choose this point. So I'm going to use the 6 is the y coordinate. The m is negative 8/3. The x is 1. And the b, I don't know. So I'm going to solve for b. So I have negative 8/3 plus b equals 6. And then I need to get the b by itself, so I'm going to add 8/3. So I got 6 plus 8/3. And you guys know to be able to combine those, you need a common denominator. So 6 is actually 18/3 plus 8/3. So that means it's going to be 26/3. Yeah. So that's going to be 26/3. That's going to be the b, 26/3. So we got the b, we got the slope. So now we're ready to write the equation. So the equation equals, it's going to be y equals negative 8/3 x, and then plus 26/3. Okay? All right, last example. Let's say you got these 2 points. First thing you have to do is find the slope. So we're going to label our points, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Find the slope. Got to subtract the y's. So 7 minus 2, 1 minus 0. Slope looks like it's going to be 5/1, or just 5, even better. So 5. Then you choose one of the points. So choose a point. Choose the easier point. Okay. Choose 0, 2. It's a little smaller numbers, so choose 0, 2. So start off with y equals mx plus b. You plug in the point and the slope. See what you got. So for y, we're going to put 2, because that's what it is right here. And then the m, we're going to put, we just found the m, so we're going to put 5. For the x, we're going to put 0. And then we're going to try to figure out the b. So 5 times 0, that's 0. So 0 plus b equals 2. So b equals 2. So now we can write our equation. So we have y equals 5x. Our y-intercept is 2, so plus 2. Now, initially, we actually knew that the y-intercept was 2 because that said 0, 2. So if we knew ahead of time, 0, 2 is right here. So you can tell that's the y-axis, and it already is touching right there at 0, 2. But if you don't recognize that, then running through the process will get you the right answer as well. All right, let me think. I think that should be it. You just need practice on that. You just do the same kind of thing each time. This is about as hard as it gets when you need to actually write an equation of a line given 2 points. But this section is a must to be able to do the project, because the project is basically you try to find some data, and then you draw a best fit line, and then you try to write an equation that goes through some of those points, that models the data really well. And to be able to write an equation of a line, you've got to do this section, 5.4, because you're going to find a couple points on the line, and then you're going to do what we just did with those last two examples. So it's a must, it's a must-have skill so that you can write prediction equations and complete your whole project. All right? Cool.